See, you can only love out of strength. It takes strength to love. You got to speak with purpose. We think that our salvation is based on performance. God is not a man that he can lie. He don't lie. You be a vessel that God can work. Because somebody might need your holy prayer to save them one day. Well, hello, this is Dr. Will Wheat, and today we want to continue our conversation that we were having about why we have chosen to discuss the idea or the thought that we are co-creators with God. By approaching this idea, we may have a clearer understanding of how all things that we know to exist come into existence. But we have to take a travel back. We have to go back in time to talk about the philosophy and the mindset of those who wrote history as well as those who wrote scripture. And so one of the things that I added to my last video was a book that's written by Mark Smith. And Mark Smith talks about how Israel, and we pull as Christians much of our writings from the scriptures that the Israelites wrote, and their history and their scriptures is where we get our identity as believers or Christians. So we needed to look at how certain names came about that was attached to God. And we talked about how Israel was polytheistic. Now, if you had traveled back in time and asked them if they were polytheistic, they would know what you were talking about. But they believed in other deities. They believed in deities that governed certain tribes, deities that governed the weather, deities that governed the crops, how crops grew, deities that aided them in warfare. And whatever one tribe would come against another tribe, whatever God that tribe worshipped would be the God of the tribe that was conquered. So when we get the book of Genesis, we get the book of Genesis written while Israel is in captivity in Babylon. So it would be very wise for us to attach certain things we know to their history to understand the names that is attributed to God in that writing. In Genesis chapter 1, we see that God is Elohim. In Genesis chapter 2, we see that God is Yahweh. And we understand these two names to have an attachment to what we now today call mythology. Well, God is one. He's not many. So when you take the name Elohim, how does that develop into one God? Because it talks about many. Well, through the scriptures and through time, God has, by revelation, expressed himself that he is one God and there is one Son, and that all of humanity is in the one Son, which is Christ. Now, my approach to this is when we come to Elohim and the creation, is when the one Son and all of humanity in that one Son is wondering, what does it feel like to be outside of this bliss and this joy, to be separate from our Creator? In that mindset, because they were taught to be creators, that we have what we call the fall, or our creation as we know it. Now, this has all been attributed to God, as all things in the Old Testament was attributed to God. Evil was attributed to God, good was attributed to God, murder was attributed to God, so even creation is attributed to God. But we are participants in creation. We are co-creators with God. So when we realize that, come to our true identity, that we're not going to be given to think about the devil or some other entity outside of ourselves controlling our destiny. When we control our destiny and our experiences with our Father who is God, and we are co-creators with God. As soon as we correct our identity, correct our perception, correct what we say with our words, which is our creative power, our mind and our words are creative powers. When we correct this perception, we will begin to create a new experience and reality that we all can enjoy. So we have taken months and weeks and even years to try to lay this down so that we can understand that God is not evil, God is not bad, he does not have a split personality, that all of what you see is his love that stays with us in our miscreation. He's here to save us. So the word gospel means good news. And there is no gospel, and there is no good news if you're preaching something that we have to do for God instead of preaching what God has done for us. We also teach and preach that Christ did not come as an example for us. He came as an example of us. And when we grasp these few concepts, we will begin to change the way we think, the way we see ourselves, the way we see the world, and we become more familiar with God's message of oneness and how that all can come about. Well, I've taken a little bit of your time. I thank you for listening. Keep listening, and we will attempt to explain this on a level that all of us can agree, and or if we don't agree, at least all of us can understand the consideration that I'm giving you to think about, to pray about, and to consider how all of this has come about by understanding what I believe is the truth. Well, this is Dr. Will Wheat reminding you that God has plans for your life, and none of those plans include defeat.
People of Greater Los Angeles, Apostle Will Wheat has a word from God that is revealing, powerful, and life-changing. Every Sunday, lives are being transformed by this powerful word from God. Families, businesses, church leaders, and the world are hearing God's plans for their lives. And none of those plans include defeat. It has been said that there have been Jesus sightings in his services. So you owe it to yourself to be a part of one of the greatest movements and Jesus sightings that this city has ever experienced. And you can download Apostle Wheat's Sunday messages for free at nccfc.net. nccfc.net. Sunday services are at 1 p.m. and midweek services are Wednesdays at 7 p.m. There is faith for your destiny at nccfc.net.